nature journaling is something that has, it's a way of connecting with the world and observing that in recent years has just had an amazing renaissance. And our guest today is a big part of that. Roseanne Hanson is a naturalist and a biologist and a world explorer who has kind of been rooting around in some of the most remote regions of the planet with an insatiable curiosity and a leather-bound journal, which is an extension of her brain and her experiences. She has become a leader in our nature journaling community, is driving force behind the Wild Wonder conferences and the successes of those, also teaches her own workshops, and is also the author of, I'm going to hold up 2 books, 2 really useful guides for better nature journaling. So we have Nature Journaling for Wildlife. That was Roseanne's first book, and she's just released, and if you get this, you'd say to yourself, like, wow, this is really, really comprehensive, and I'm now ready to go out and do this. And I guess there's not much else to say. But what's neat about this next book is that there is, and it's really, really useful. So your latest book, Master of Field Arts, is for people who want to take their nature journaling to a deeper level, to help them really. So for people who I love like finding a mystery and geeking out on it. And this is the manual for how to geek out on things. And it's incredibly practical and useful. And we'll be kind of diving into a number of the tricks in here. Roseanne, we are honored and delighted to have you with us today. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. This is so much fun. And it's such a great way to celebrate with everybody.
Absolutely. So I know that for you, a big part of your maybe just to start to recognize that I know that your mother was a big inspiration to you, and a big part of who you are today, and that in the last few days she's died. I want to send our love and thoughts are with you.
Thank you. Thank you. She was 91 and she was feisty and very active right up till the end. It was a stroke, so she didn't suffer, and it was the way she wanted to go. She didn't want to go to a home or anything like that. She was still living alone. And my book is, this book, the dedication is actually to my parents, because I feel like they gave their 5 kids the freedom as well as the tools and the smarts, the know-how to like get out and do whatever we wanted to do. And they let us explore the wildlands around our home. I was very lucky to grow up with a lot of beautiful landscape around us in the Sonoran Desert. And they just, they only had one rule: be home at dark. And we sometimes broke it, although then we would get in big trouble. So we didn't try to do that much. And that's what really encouraged me. Also, just exploring with my mom. She loved to go do wildflowers and birds. We went birding frequently, and just being curious about everything. My dad too. He passed away years ago, but they were both. Like, my dad built me a Stevenson screen, which is in the book. You'll learn what that is. When I was 8 years old, and that's probably when I had started my first field journal, to record the weather every day at 4 p.m. out of my little Stevenson screen. I was a total nature nerd.
That is next level. Well, we're so grateful to them, and so much of it's interesting how what significant people stir in us, we bring forward into what we bring into the world. And
Absolutely. Yep.
the,
In our actions, you know, my mom wasn't overtly didactic. She wasn't a helicopter mom either. I like to say she was the opposite of a helicopter mom because she gave us the tools to build our own wings, and instead of flying for us. So that meant she had to watch us crash and burn. but that's what I think gave me the confidence to get out and do crazy stuff in my life. I look back and I think, oh, wow, you did that. You drove across Ethiopia by yourself. Oh my gosh, what? And that's because of my mom.
Yeah. And that legacy kind of continues on in the work that you do. Thank you so much.
And so that's why I really wanted to write these books. I have written quite a few natural history books with my husband, Jonathan, but these were my first kind of how-to books, and the naturalist in me just really loves to share that. I really want to encourage everybody of all ages, you know, just whether it's starting when you're 8 years old or when you're 80, doesn't matter. To become a lifelong naturalist is so rewarding, and that's what I hope I conveyed in the book through some kind of surprising things. I think I'm trying to define what field arts are and encourage people to, you know, find their own too. You know, what do you define as a field arts? For me, it's observations, whether it's meteorology, the weather, or cartography, translating a landscape into your own fun map, or making your own ink and pigment and paint from something right there. How fun is that?
That is, it's you know, such a profound way of generating a sense of place.
Yes.
You know, you're observing in that place and creating with the tools given by that place. That's beautiful. You know, this your first book. What's sort of neat about this one is that it's set up as kind of 8 discrete lessons that you can walk through, and they build the basic fundamentals of, you know, I don't know how to do nature journaling. This is going to give it to me. How do I observe, use my words, pictures, and numbers, and even if you don't have your own journal, there's a little section in the back, just kind of like, let's get you started. Here's some paper. It's okay. You can do this.
Make those pancakes.
Yep. And so you've done a lot of thinking about how to logistically kind of get those things working for people. So I highly recommend that, even if you're already experienced with nature journaling, because there will be things that Roseanne will definitely have on some of these things that you've done before, a slightly different angle, where you're like, why are you doing it? Oh, and there will be, even if you're an experienced nature journaler, there are some surprises in here of strategies that you take because you've been very intentional about your practice and what you do.
Thank you. I love teaching. I've been teaching for a long time, teaching nature writing. I've been a writer for 40 some years, and love to teach. Have taught nature journaling and natural history and animal tracking. Started an animal tracking program in the Sky Island region for conservation purposes. So that was really cool.
Would it be all right if I did just put this book under a document camera and just did a quick page flip to kind of show people how rich it is? And then what we can do is I think it'd be fun to kind of to explore some of those in a little bit more detail. So when you see this, you're like, ooh, I think I want to get. So this will be a teaser, right? And if there's any place that you want me to stop, you just say so.
Yeah, anybody just chime in too. Ooh, I see what you've been working on. Ha ha.
Oh yes. So this is the book, Master of there you go, Master of Field Arts, and the so it starts off with just sort of thinking about our sort of the tradition that we're a part of, and what is going on with being a field biologist, and kind of the tools of the trade. You help people sort of think about the equipment, including this is something that I have never really thought about, is the importance of just kind of a good all-around knife. Opens up all sorts of doors and possibilities in what you do. It's sort of like one of the first tools that humans made, still essential for being a curious naturalist. You show a number of your favorite tools and things, and go into strategies for tracking. Just look at, I mean, some of this cool stuff. I'm going to zoom down here. I mean, like, look at what she's going here. This is a little sheet of plexiglass that Roseanne's brought out into the field with her. She's put that down over an animal track, rested on these corks so it doesn't smash the track. And to get the measurements on this track, she is tracing the shape of it. I mean, it's brilliant, right?
We developed that. One of that came out of our program for the conservation tracking in the Sky Islands. We had 700 volunteers tracking animals throughout our region to prove where they were crossing roads and where we needed to protect them.
So then you've got to do a deep dive on sort of journals and how to kind of get that. You give really good respect to the idea of metadata and how to kind of record, you know, your place in the world. You go into details on strategies for recording what you see with pencil and how you break down those shapes. There are sections on pen doing the same thing, and where you've kind of you've done the research for us in comparing all sorts of different tools and why you might want to have what you have, and then exercises to help people kind of break out and learn how to use these different tools. There are this is where I just when I got to this part of your book, I just started bouncing up and down in my chair because
me too. It's one of my favorite. I just love it. It was so much fun to research the history of humans and mapping.
Mm-hmm. It's a deep dive in practical mapping for nature journalists. And this is the best treatment that I have seen of this anywhere. And you kind of go through that and you're like, and then she gives you a little project. You're going to go out and you're going to make your own maps. So then this was when we were talking before about kind of generating this sort of this sense of place. You've got a section on making your own paints and dyes and inks.
Oh, and here's the cool part about that, Jack. So in researching ochre use that humans have been using it for so long, I dug up, haha, pun intended, I guess, that as much as 100,000 years ago, humans were processing. They weren't just taking pieces of rock and scraping it onto the walls of the cave. They were actually grinding it up and mixing it with tallow to create paint, which means that's the beginning of art and science right there, that humans have been thinking about ways to manipulate things like ochre or charcoal or whatever, but make it last longer. So who was that first proto-human who said, what if I do this? That was science. I'm going to experiment. And anyway, that just like blew my mind. And it's so cool. So cool.
So then when you're doing this allows you to, you're going deeper. You're going deeper. Or I should say that you are connecting with these fundamental processes that are part of the human experience. So when I'm just it would be fun to also kind of discuss sort of like how does your personal experience of when you're out there on the landscape painting with ochres from that landscape, how does that change your experience, sort of your subjective experience of connecting with the land?
Oh, it does hugely. So, being able to, when you're out exploring, whether it's on a short hike in your regional park or your neighborhood, what we try to do when we're nature journaling is you step back and you kind of, it's like downshifting, those of you who know how to drive a manual car, or you just want to get back and slow down and pay attention. And what you start doing is looking at, oh my gosh, look at that really red soil. And then you reach down and you touch it, right? Because we want to use all of our senses. What are we hearing? What are we seeing? What are we smelling? What are we feeling? And then your hand turns, ochre colored. This rock here I gathered in Namibia, and it's a purple ochre. And it turned my hand. Yeah. So I'm like, oh, can I make paint from that? Or I was in my backyard and I was looking at my mesquite tree and I saw the sap dripping out of it. And I thought, can I make ink from that? And I did.
So that's a bottle of ink that you made from the mesquite tree.
Yes.
In your own backyard.
Yes.
Okay, it's
so cool.
You are so cool.
Well, it's curiosity.
But you're also enabling us to do the same thing. Right. That's what I love. It's not just
anybody
that you're cool.
can do
You're
it.
saying, here's my toolkit of coolness.
You just have to be weird enough to think, can I do that?
Yeah.
And then try it, and then your spouse has to not mind boiling up some strange things on the stove.
Yeah. And then I'm going to just in continuing this page flip, we'll go back to some of these other things because there's so much richness that we're kind of leaving on the cutting room floor here. But I just want people kind of just see, like, I'm not pulling your leg when I say that, like, Roseanne takes it deeper. So the weather in the sky is this incredibly neglected phenomenon that most people don't understand or pay attention to. Everyone's sort of like, oh, there's a pretty cloud, I'll put that in my background of my little landscape, or maybe even ignore the actual clouds that I'm seeing at this point and draw in a generic cumulus cloud because that's what clouds are supposed to look like. But what you do is you help us kind of go on the deep dive, sort of some weather appreciation as a scientist, and then how you record those observations in your journal. And it's such a wonderful invitation. It's such a wonderful invitation to pay attention to the real place that you are. And by tying the science in with the art and the journaling, you're encouraging people not just to see, but also to understand what's going on.
That's been a lifelong thing for me when I teach, is we learn better when we know why something is, or what is the history of it. So instead of just saying, this is a cumulus cloud, or this is a cirrus cloud, we learn, why is it shaped like that? What does it signify? What could it mean? For the day, for the weather, for the next coming days, things like that. And I try to do that throughout the book, with every subject going deep into the history of things. Like pencils. I never knew pencils were so awesome. I'm now completely in love with pencils.
You see, like this is something that's totally off of my radar.
I know. I mean, it just was so much fun. I have to say, after I finished the book in January, I went into almost a depression of, it's like postpartum. I was like, I really miss working on it. So
Well, and I see why. I mean, this is so much fun. This is so much fun. Like you're paying attention to, you know, how when the dew point changes, smells change in the air. Like we've all noticed that there's that smell right after it rains, but you're noticing other aspects of smell and the weather. I mean, what? It's just this, when I was reading this, it was just this invitation for me to kind of go like, oh, there's so much more going on. Like the clouds are just this reflection of this invisible sea, normally invisible sea of air around us. But when the pressure and the temperature are doing just the right things, we get these little clues to what is going on with it, with these clouds forming. And this, I see that this, the content that you've given me here it's a bridge over to that.
yes, that's absolutely a great way to put it. And then also I like to go like really deep into the science so we understand, but then bringing it back to the cyanometer, which is something you can create your own, which it's not how to paint the color of the sky. It's that those blues represent how much moisture is in the sky. So the darker the sky, the less moisture. So a cloud is white because it's full of moisture. It's actually not white, it's the reflection that we're seeing. But that scientists, Saussure, Alexander von Humboldt used cyanometers, not a simple one like this, but the one in the picture with 52 shades of Prussian blue. Yeah, not so they could tell you how pretty the sky was and what color it was, but to demonstrate the moisture in the sky. And I think they were also using it to estimate elevation, which is cool.
Ooh. How does, so the higher you go, does the get bluer?
You know, I've not read up on what they were trying to do. I've only, in Humboldt's book, he didn't give the mechanism for like what they were testing it. So I actually have Humboldt's books and I'm reading them now. So I'll let you know when I get to that part for sure.
It's funny that, you know, they might just assume that, like, you know, everybody knows this. Right? So I don't have to tell you. But so you're an expert tracker, and you take us on a tracking journey here, and you're the kind of tracker that I love. So I've got some pet peeves about tracking, and one of them is that some people sort of are, they're kind of almost sort of like a nature faker, that they sort of pretend that they have these sort of supernatural tracking abilities.
Oh yeah, like
yeah, and but you're saying, here's where I look for the clues. Here's how I document the clues. Here's how I see these things. Here's how I notice these things. And you unpack it for me with kind of, you give me the toolkit. So how can I pay attention? The stories are wonderful, right? Where you're kind of, you're not just saying, you know, here's a track, but you're helping people kind of put together
telling the story. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's not just a track, there's often a whole lot of other stuff going on. And what do you think is the most important thing a tracker can say when they're tracking?
Besides, wow.
Wow. What we teach is the most important thing is to say, you know what? I don't know. I'm not sure.
That's right. That's right. And also as a scientist.
There, I got it. I don't know, because, you know, they are tracks are super difficult. And I once turned a dog track or a coyote track into a wolf track because I wanted it to be a wolf. And I had to go back later and, you know, give myself a little slap on the wrist and say, nope, that was definitely not a wolf.
Mhm. But this is evidence-based tracking, which is what I love. And then you've got all these strategies of how to draw that, how to kind of record that, just inspiring ideas of how to play it. It's like the simple wash really pops those.
Doesn't it? I really like that. Yeah.
Oh, so much fun. Um, you also are doing kind of a dive into natural history writing. So kind of giving the words their due, because they're also just a completely different tool for
Yep.
playing with the world.
It's painting with words. I've been teaching natural history writing for 35 years and have written a lot of natural history books and really enjoy encouraging people to use words as well as pictures.
It's really fun. And so, I mean, the book is humble and the book is generous.
Oh, that's nice.
So it's.
Hey, so there's something we should mention, because this is pretty cool. It's actually pretty recent science that there's a woman, her name is in there. It's not going to pop up into my mind, but she's just done some groundbreaking research on pictographs and showing that there are, it's right there, that there are certain symbols used throughout the world that she's starting to identify that may, and this is very early stuff, that may indicate some pictographs were actually early language, very, very early language. I mean, like proto language, but still, that's super cool to think about that. We humans love to communicate what we see. That's what we are here for, nature journaling. And so I like to think of some of these pictographs as maybe that was early nature journaling, right? Maybe they were talking about, hey, the game animals are here, and here's the water hole, and here's the map. And this is where you're going to find all the great hunting or nuts, walnuts, or whatever. So I just think that's super cool.
I'm going to enjoy reading this. Yes, Genevieve von Pensinger.
Thank you. Yes. So you can Google her and read some of the fantastic work she's been doing.
Also, you can read a little bit about her in this book, because there's, that's so much fun. And then for all of our do-it-yourself crowd out there, there's the bonus workshop where you made your own ink. You're now showing us how to make our own ink. So and you make your own ink, your own pens. This is so much fun.
It is fun.
Then the final part of the book, there are little projects that you can do to give yourself to help you pay attention to the world around you. There's a rich index of references in the back, so you can tell that you are a kind of come from a sort of science background. Yes. Where when we use somebody else's work, we reference them, we cite their work, and we build on those. Yes. And so this allows people to sort of understand the context of what we go in. So mad points for that. The final little trail of the book, there are some of these pages that you are going to want to clip out and then have in the back of your own nature journal. So symbols for documenting weather things, the Beaufort wind scale, and I love these little cards that you made on questioning, tracking, scat study, and more tracking. That's really, really exciting.
Thank you. It was so much fun to do.
So we can't do in the time that we have, we cannot do sort of a deep dive in all areas of the book, because it is a life's work. But what would be kind of a fun area of, so I think you kind of see the richness in this guide. What would be kind of a fun area for us to do, just to kind of a deeper dive here into? What would be fun for you?
Or do we want to see what people would like to know more about?
Oh, good idea. So
Ink. Someone says ink. What else? Maybe we could just take some questions and then go dive deep that way. Maybe, I don't know.
Or actually, so I'm going to start us off.
Okay.
Because I am right now, and actually this afternoon, I'm going to be going over to my daughter's school, and I'm teaching the kids there how to do mapping, and we're doing mapping. Yay. And I would love to hear some of your thoughts about integrating mapping in thinking or creating mapping, and any kind of strategies or things that that kind of popped your mind as like, okay, here's a high percentage thing, or something that you've innovated, because you're an innovator.
Mapping is great. Here, I can share a couple of things, because there's some really fun. I'm going to switch to my document camera. So let's get this time to focus. Okay, so maps can be super, super simple. Like in the best example, one of the best examples I love, if you don't have a lot of time, is to do just like here, Pat Kuning, she did, starting point, where they went, and she didn't draw the state of California and all the mountain ranges and everything, but she gave us like the main points, distances, information. Love that. And then all the fun, the landscape and the bird. So it doesn't have to be like a super fancy map, but I'll show a couple of ways that I really enjoy mapping.
Oh, looking in your journal. Oh, we get to wait. Is that an accordion fold pasted into your journal?
Yes. There? Okay. So yeah, that's what I was going to talk about, those.
Oh.
So my main journal, of those of you who don't know, is this leather journal in which I lace inexpensive 90-pound watercolor paper, and then I archive it in 3-ring binders, and I've got like 40 of them. Oh, here's the mesquite ink.
That is drawn with the ink that you made.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And it was raining and it blorked and I messed up putting my hand on it, but it still turned out nice. But yeah, anyway, so I archive in these 3-ring binders, and they're all labeled and indexed, so I can always find what I need. But here we had gone to the, we were in the Alaskan Arctic, and so I keep these pieces of paper in my journal. I'm gonna have to zoom up a little bit. They're just blank strips of watercolor paper. And how am I gonna do this? Let's see. So I need to.
Oh yeah, so you're following a river down to the sea. And
this is the Dalton Highway, yeah. How am I gonna do it? I need to take it off here. There. So it's a linear map. So I drew the road and the river and then the highlights. So, here was Tulick Lake. Here we saw Dall's sheep. Here's where we saw the muskox. Peregrine falcon. And then I got kind of fanciful with the Arctic Ocean. And just fun. And then it continues on the other side.
Of course it does. Of course it does. Oh, that's cool. And then you've even got little samples that you've collected in there. Oh, it's a little bit, the little spits of color just make.
Isn't that fun? Yeah.
That's really fun.
Super easy to do, like no pressure of a map. Then, but also for this trip, I did a map, a more traditional, come on, focus, let's see, let me put this down and get a focus a little closer here. showing more. This is the Point Barrow.
Yeah.
It's Uktiagbek is the correct native name. And so I put some places where we explored and details of the little dwarf. I think that was a birch and sedges and things like that, and the tundra swans that we saw. So you can do maps that way too. And I did this one off of a printed map that I had already, and then also double checked it on Google Maps. So I wasn't doing this, on like while I was there. I did it in the evening. So, so that's another way to do that. So yeah, so maps are super. See if I have any more maps. Can also do diagrams. Yeah, super fun. I got that, really was inspired by you, Jack, on doing these cutaways and diagrams. And this was when I was trying to teach myself more about river meanders and how they behave.
And you've got the depositional bars and the cut banks there.
Exactly. The cut banks and what that all, the erosion, etc. Super fun. So there's lots of ways you can do maps. We can map Mars.
Oh, tell me more about this.
Oh, I did a virtual field trip to Mars.
You've got me curious.
Yes. So yeah, so here's what that looks like. We
Marscapito.
Yeah, that was for you, Jack. So I used NASA's 360-degree images sent from the Perseverance, and we followed the mission, and we landed here, and we took a look at the Jezero crater, and then this is mapping the Perseverance and how it had gone that far. So these are the ways you can add maps to your journals. But that was super fun. I actually shared this with a friend who is he's the lead scientist for one of the missions, and was at the launch, and he shared this with the NASA team. So that was super fun.
Oh, this is brilliant. I also love how you kind of show by the map zooming in and zooming out.
So this here.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here you are in context.
So when we map, and in my book, I mentioned there's some key things you want to include in your maps. You want to include which way is north usually. You want a scale, and then also you want the zooming in and zooming out is great. But if I had just drawn this, you would have just been like, okay, that's cool. But now it's over here. This was the Gale crater.
Right.
And this is this is where they are going. If you guys don't know, so I'm a total Mars NASA space nerd too. They are in the process of sending the Perseverance to this location exactly right now. It's taking longer than they thought it would, but they think this old delta is where they're going to find potentially signs of life.
Oh, fun.
And they're on their way right now. And I think they said another couple of months, the Perseverance is going, which is so cool. This is the ultimate exploration, right? Oh, and check out the metadata.
It's a little bit chilly today. A little bit brisk.
And the wind was kind of brisk, yeah. Yes,
there's a bit of a stiff breeze.
I always put moon phases and what the temperature, what the sky was like in the morning, and sunrise and sunset. So for Mars, I had to do 2 moons.
Oh yes.
And yeah, so.
Oh, see, this is geeking out that I really respect. And also, I can just sort of hear you kind of, laugh as you're doing this. So your sense of humor is kind of coming into it, and that helps when we kind of approach something with our humor, our brain is much more open to this
Yes,
experience.
absolutely. And yeah, I think that's curiosity and humor should go together. I mean, it would be a shame if we didn't laugh about things, but just it makes you so happy to learn things. That's what I think I want to share. And then of course I'm completely obsessed. I need to get my hands on some of, I mean, you guys know why Mars is red, right? It's ferrous oxide. I can make paint from it.
We need to get you. All right, if I ever get a little vial of Mars dust, I'm bringing
Thank
it
you.
to you.
Yes, I'm totally there.
All right. This is so cool. Well, and
Yeah.
this also kind of makes me start thinking about metadata.
Yes.
And what is metadata that what is your kind of, walk us through your metadata format, because you're being really intentional here. And I think this is very
yes. Well, let me get one that's based on Earth. Hold on. Good one here. Here's a good example of really text heavy journaling, by the way,
Yep.
mostly writing.
And also just notice in that writing that part of it is sentences, but there's also different formats, because when your brain is thinking with bullet points, that little list down the side, that's a different kind of thinking when you're thinking like that than when you're doing full sentences and things. So
Correct,
intentionally
yeah.
using both of those formats is going to really help your ability to document an experience with words.
Yes, this is something so this was a day trip where we were exploring the San Rafael Valley in Southern Arizona. And it's not focusing very well. Come on. That's a little bit. So this is the way, it took me years and years. I've been doing this metadata this way for a couple of decades now, but it took me many years to develop it. I started out using almost strictly the Joseph Grinnell method. Jack's familiar with that, the Museum of Vertebrate Zoology at UC Berkeley. Grinnell was the first director, and he developed standards for field notes. And he was all about, making sure you had your metadata correct, and then your prose, and also he used also another second notebook. Show you an example for like on the fly. Need to find. Oh, that's my index. Anyway, covering up my stuff there. There we go. So like this is like my little notebook where I jot then things quickly, because we're like bouncing down the road in the Land Cruiser and you're like, and you're trying to write things down. As you can see, it gets kind of wobbly. Or I write, things that I have to buy. Potatoes, we need groceries. Things like that. Then I transfer that into my main notebook in the evening in camp. But this was done during the day. And I always do the metadata, moon, what phase, it's the first quarter, when does it rise and set.
And where do you get the rise and set information from?
I use a great app there's a number of ways I use apps. I am not technology averse, even though I adore analog. I love my iPhone.
I agree.
Great little tool, as long as you don't let it distract you and take over your life. I turn mine off regularly. What do I use? I use a simple app called Sun and Moon.
Oh, okay.
And then the moon. Oh, look, it's first quarter on March 10th. And then it gives me, if you really want to geek out, sun, it gives the angles, the solar noon, azimuths, etc.
Okay, great.
Super fun. So, and then kind of what the conditions are in the morning, longitude, latitude, elevation for the initial entry. If it changes, I will add it in my narrative. And then this is a standard weather symbols that actually says it was 3/4 of the sky was in cloud, and they were like, let's see, fair weather cumulus. And then later in the day, it developed a bit more. And then this is just the high and the low temperature of the day where I was.
Mm-hmm. And those that chart of all of those weather symbols are also in one of the cutout and paste into
Yes.
your book
Yeah, so you can
pages
keep them,
in Master of Field Arts.
keep them in your the front of your journal.
Yeah.
Look at mine's, you know, it's got years and years of stains and it's all gnarly. There's my Beaufort scale.
So these are pages that you just regularly carry with you.
Yes.
Nice.
And moon phases, things like that. So, yeah.
Oh, great, great, great. So, and then you've got, and then you'll sometimes do wind speed and direction in that.
Yes, so this was a calm day. Let's see. Here's a, let's see. This is funny. It says similar, it's actually very close. It's near the lake, same location, ironically. I just happened to open it. But wind direction, and this is the speed indicator, 10 to 15 miles per hour. And these were cirrus and stratus clouds.
Great. And so you're getting miles per hour through the Beaufort method. And then I wish I could say I was doing it that way. This was my birthday present last year. Ooh, I've got one of these too. Aren't they cool?
So this is a weather station in your pocket.
Yeah.
So it does wind speed, temperature, barometric pressure, dew point, all sorts of geeky stuff. Super cool tool. So I use that directly on site.
Great, great.
But I do give tools for how you might estimate the wind using the Beaufort scale and other things as well, not just the Beaufort scale, but just basically looking at the water and how much ripples there are or things like that. So you don't need to have a fancy instrument either. You can also tell temperature by cricket.
Tell us a little bit about the cricketometers.
That was fun, and it works. I tested it. I'll just kind of read that part because there's some very specific math. So this was in 1897. Amos Dolberg published "The Cricket as a Thermometer." Noted the correlation between ambient temperature and the rate at which crickets chirp. And it's a specific species. This was the snowy tree cricket. And you count the number of chirps in 14 seconds and then add 40 to get the temperature. And I tried it with my local cricket.
Is that in degrees Fahrenheit or Celsius?
Fahrenheit, yes, to convert crickets to degrees Fahrenheit. And it worked.
That's really fun.
But it was really hard because I was doing it in the summer. So it was like 90 degrees. So the crickets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But that's a fun kid activity, right? So that's how to
That's a fun grown-up activity.
That's true.
And also just sort of think, and then it kind of ties you into this, it's a rabbit hole to go down. What I feel that you're doing here in this book is you're saying there's a whole bunch more rabbit holes out here that you can go down, and here's a kind of a headlamp and some spelunking gear to kind of help you out in some of these, and also just kind of given permission to go and play down that hole. Every
and just release yourself and then share it with people. Encourage them all to everyone to just open your mind and be curious. And like Jack says, just be curious. And these are just tools and ways to enhance the way you record things and appreciate what we do, but also tools to go deeper.
And you folks probably get this from kind of getting a sense of Roseanne, and that if there's something in this book that you're not doing or you're doing differently, nobody's saying you're doing it wrong.
Correct.
Anything like that. And you don't have to now do all these things. Like now I also need to kind of get like this little line that shows the wind and like, oh no. And then there's like, how can I kind of keep track of that?
Yep, totally. There's so many different ways to do it. If that doesn't ring your bell, don't do it.
Right.
What I am encouraging people to do, though, and why it's called Master of Field Arts, is that if you do want to go down the rabbit hole of becoming a really dedicated naturalist, there are some things you will want to do. For example, the metadata is important when you're recording information. So you won't remember even a few months from now, let alone years and years from now, something important that you recorded. For example, I can go back, we're in the process of looking right now at why canyon wrens have disappeared from the desert laboratory on Tumamoc Hill. And that now I'm going back to all my field notes. I keep an index so I can look under, wren, canyon, and see when and where they occur in my journal and start compiling lists. So we're looking at, was it because the rock wrens moved in? Probably not, because I actually found a paper that says that they partition resources and coexist just fine. So we don't know why they disappeared. But anyway, metadata. When was that bird there? Where was it exactly? Give me that information. As a naturalist, that's what I'm encouraging you to do, because then that's really powerful and super cool.
I mean, a photograph on its own is just a photograph, but at the minute it's date stamped and georeferenced, it's
exactly
data.
Which is what we're saying, to do here with your, it's great to do a sketch of a tree or a bird or whatever, but tell us a little bit more. Where was it? Was it blooming? What was it doing?
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
someone just did cricket chirp temperatures. It's 55 degrees now, so there should have been. Oh, you didn't have crickets. Our crickets are coming out in force right now.
That would be a good way of testing it, to reverse engineer, right? So
what's expected?
To sort of like, yep. So go like figure out what the temperature is, and then reverse calculate that. That means that we should have this many, chirps per second, and then go time those crickets.
Yeah.
And that would be a fun way of testing that. Sarah says temperature forensics. What for you, before we kind of open this up to kind of questions from the crew here, what for you is your growth edge right now? What would you say is the area where you are trying to, like, you're pushing your naturalist or journaling?
I went down a rabbit hole, actually a rabbit warren, recently, starting about 6 months ago, teaching myself how to make paint from plant parts. So making lake pigments, like, for example, I took a prickly pear cactus fruit and I just successfully turned the fruit juice into paint. Which was, so that's a rabbit hole for me. It's really technical and really difficult to do. And so I've been challenging myself now and my new project. So after I finished this book, I was bereft of projects. So I started a new project. I have a year-long project called Chroma Sonorensis, meaning I'm going to be creating at least 10 different colors, either paints or inks, from 10 different key elements in the Sonoran Desert, plants or soil. And so mesquite ink is one of them. Prickly pear cactus fruit paint. I've got purple ochre from the Tucson Mountains, and so on. So that's my edge right now.
That's a really fun
hard. It's definitely hard.
I love that. And one more thing before we open this up to questions. If people want to track you, follow you, take some workshops and classes with you, order a copy of this book, and continue to be inspired by you and your work, what's the best way for people to be in touch?
Oh, thank you for asking. I have a Field Arts Institute on my website, and I think Ivy has been putting that link as well. So I can pop that in. And I have tons of free tutorials and classes and things on that site too, where like my Mars field trip is on there as a recording if you want to go go to Mars with us.
And you can also buy these books there.
And the books and other fun tools.
That's really, really, really exciting. Let's open this up to some questions from our crew here. If you have a question for Professor Roseanne Hanson, then all you have to do is raise your hand either with the raise hand button or just sort of wave at me on your screen, and I'll see you dancing, and then I will we'll bring you on live with Roseanne.
Someone wrote a question in the chat. Is it hard to make pigments, and does anyone worry about potential allergies, dermatitis from the plants and natural materials? Excellent question. And I cover this extensively because there's a lot of misinformation on the internet. And it gets propagated. So people go, oh, I'm going to make my own paint from dirt because it's natural, it's organic, right? Well, let's be really, really careful. Because yes, in general, the red ochres, the yellow ochres, ferrous oxides, and I go into this extensively, are relatively non-toxic. However, things like serpentine, a green color pigment, has asbestos in it. Cinnabar, which is a mineral which is in North America, that bright red, has arsenic in it. So you just want to be super, super careful and assume everything's toxic. I'm always very careful when I boil up even mesquite sap. I don't know what happens when things shift. When you heat them, they aerosolize or whatever. I always wear a mask, goggles, etc. So good questions. And so yes, we always wear gloves and are careful. Just because it's from nature doesn't mean it isn't going to kill you.
That's right. There's a fallacy that is, because things are natural, we associate things that are natural with things that are good. And so if you put all natural on your labeling, then everybody assumes that this is good and that means that this is good for you. But there are botulinum toxin, which is the most sort of deadly toxin that we're aware of, is completely natural. It doesn't mean I'm going to be putting it on my Cheerios. Sarah reads, stinging nettle is natural. But we'll have to say this for another time. You can actually eat stinging nettle. Mm-hmm. That's some good stuff. Ray Bonto's down with that. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just so that it kind of let's go full circle and say, as a naturalist, and this is what I'm encouraging people to do, you want to ask questions. You don't want to just go down the path going, oh, I read that on the internet, it must be okay, or whatever. Yeah. You want to do your own research. I don't do any of this without researching very, very carefully ahead of time. What is it? What is it made of? What are the potential hazards. As a scientist, you keep notes and you're very careful.
And so also notice when Roseanne is saying that she did research on this, that she's not meaning that she did a Google search on this and found an article that said something. Because then it's just confirmation bias time. And what we do is, if we think that this is bad, the first time I see something that says this is bad, I go like, I knew it. I knew it. There we go. And now I've just sort of confirmed my ideas. But what she's doing is she's trying to, somebody will be a claim, and she's looking for, as a scientist, she's looking for what is the evidence for that claim. And one of the best ways of doing that is when somebody makes a claim, you say, what source are you citing? Where did you get that information from? And then you go look at that source and you read what they say. Are they making that same claim? How strong is their evidence? What was their sample size? So that's why in this book, when she's saying things, she is then has citations at the back of the book where she says, this is exactly where I got this from. So you can trace the chain of custody of evidence in these different pieces. And so that's different than just kind of doing a web search until you find somebody that says you can find support for just about any wacky idea on the web. And but so this way, as a scientist, what we're doing is we're kind of going to those sources and we're looking at what the evidence is. So just because a study said something, you're then looking at like what is the power of that study? What was the
There's a section I was still looking for it, and I can't put my finger right on it, but I do mention one fact I was never able to confirm. And I will say, hey, this is widely shared on the internet, but I can't find any confirmation that it's true. So
what would you say is one of the sort of jumps to mind as kind of naturalist folklore, things that get passed around that you hear all the time, but aren't necessarily like I can think of daddy longlegs have the most deadly venom, but they can't get through your skin. Exactly. Like you'll hear this like a million times, and the source is Jerry, right?
Lemmings.
Yeah, the lemmings falling off the cliff thing. Yeah, they don't do that. Here's kind of an interesting thing. If you look at Winter Wonderland, the Walt Disney movie about Arctic animals, he actually has footage of lemmings running off the cliff. But what happened is that the film crew got up there and they were filming the lemmings, and the lemmings weren't running off the cliffs. So they got their staff to collect a bunch of lemmings and then herd them with boards off a cliff so they could film it for the movie to show what happens in nature. But when they got up there, like the lemmings were going, and if you look at the lemmings at the edge of the cliff, they're going,
on the other hand, traditional ecological knowledge is often poo-pooed. It's like, oh no, that couldn't be. This idea that polar bears, for example, it's been reported by the Inuit that polar bears pick up blocks of ice, sneak up to the edge of water holes, and use them like cannonballs to kill seals. And the scientists were like, no, that's just not going to happen. And someone put a GoPro on a polar bear. I don't even want to know how they did that. And filmed her picking up an ice block, tucking it under her arm, hopping up to the edge of a hole, sneaking up, bink, and throwing it over onto a seal.
Wow. That's
so
cool.
As a naturalist, these are like super cool things, right?
Yeah.
Any more questions?
Feel free to either ask your question live, or you can also drop it in the chat. And
there was an earlier question about fur.
Yes, that we should cover that, about ephemera and things that you might put in your journal, like collecting fur or whatever. So it's really important to understand the rules that are there for a reason in terms of what you can legally collect or not. So if it is a game animal, and even if it's roadkill or whatever, it's generally, you shouldn't be collecting things, bird feathers. Almost no bird feathers except game birds are legal to collect their feathers. That's why we draw feathers. And that's to keep, and there's a good reason for that. We love feathers. You're probably, see here, I have a collection of them back there. But there's a really good reason that there are rules, and that's to help our law enforcement in the endangered species area, especially catch people who are illegally trading animals parts, feathers, birds, live as well as dead. So you shouldn't be collecting things unless, check your rules in your state. If it's on your game animal list, you could collect the fur, but you would need to have a permit. So or a friend who hunts who's willing to give you a sample or something like that. When we talk about the quills and making your own, this is a turkey feather, which is legal to possess in Arizona. It is a game bird, so that's fine to play with. So find out your own rules. I think goose as well are legal.
Now, so the and so that's what, like you mentioned, so that's what a great reason to be sketching them in your journal.
Yeah,
because you can then you can also, things that you sketch in your journal, you can bring out of the national park. So sometimes it's also that you're within a jurisdiction where things that you find you should leave there. And some people will say, like, yeah, but will anybody really miss this feather? The truth is probably not, but on principle, I like to follow the directions of the people whose guest I am. If I'm in a national park, I'm in the National Park Service's house, and I'm agreeing to play by their rules when I'm in their house. And so
that's really important. Like pretty much basically you can't collect anything in national parks, and then like the rocks, anything. So but other places are set up like Forest Service, or it's okay to pick up a few rocks as long as you're not selling them, etc. So just find out your local jurisdiction.
And for some reason, some things, for instance, projectile points, this is, you're talking about the history of ancient peoples.
Yes.
And this is something that if everybody takes those, that will make a difference. I remember coming down off of Paiute Pass, up on Paiute Pass in the Sierra Nevada. There's this place, this large, open, beautiful meadow, and in among the granite, you can find these projectile points, because this was a place where people would come and trade. And so when you find projectile points up there, and you can find them because they're against this white granite landscape, and it's like, wow, here's this projectile point. What the general policy to do is to pick it up, to sketch it, and then I like to put it down just a few millimeters below the soil so that it's just a little bit hidden. Because at one time I was walking up Paiute Pass, and this person came down and said, "Did you know there are arrowheads up there? Look." And this person had this sack of, and it's just like, and you have just erased the story that has been laying on the landscape.
Yeah, disturbing. I want to point out, there is a photo in my book of a projectile point that we took, but and the caption explains, we took the photo, we didn't take the point. We were on a scientific expedition working for an archaeologist looking for projectile points, and that was actually a photo to document it, and then it was put back.
Yeah. So would anybody like to share some of their journal pages with Roseanne and get some feedback from our master naturalist about what she sees in your ways of observing and documenting things? I like what the Ann Chadwick is reminding us, take only sketches and try to avoid leaving footprints.
Well, except don't start being afraid to be in nature.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. So yeah, the whole nature is it's out there, and
yeah, it's not a barrier.
beauty.
Don't put a barrier between you and nature. It's okay to pick things up. It's okay to handle them and get dirty. Get dirty, please. I love seeing dirty kids.
Yeah, dirty kids.
Oh my gosh. I hate it when I hear parents, and they do this especially with little girls. They're like, oh, don't touch that. It's dirty. Don't get dirty. Don't get dirty. I hate that.
Oh, I see Gael, my friend from Argentina, is with us today. We just met the other day. So we'd love to bring you on. Maybe you can show Roseanne some of the stuff that is going on in your journal in Argentina. I'm going to allow you to unmute yourself. And I'm so delighted to see you here. It's really good to see you again. I'm going to add you in on the spotlight. Hi there.
Hello.
Hello. And you're down in Argentina, where? What part?
Patagonia.
Oh, what part? We traveled extensively in Patagonia.
Oh, really? In Bariloche? Do you know?
Bariloche? No way. We spent a long time there, loved it. Fantastic.
Gail's got some really cool sketches of birds and that
I'd love to see.
making in that area. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to minimize our screens to make your screen bigger, and we can see what is happening on your in your journal.
Okay, but first I wanted to say sorry if I came late to the.
Oh no! Anytime that people can drop in, it's great. Today we are with Professor Roseanne Hanson, who's showing us her latest inspirations in her journal. We'd love to see what's happening in your journal.
Okay. Well, I just want to say that I don't have a good light because the main light, well, it's broken, and well, I may not. I don't know how to say it.
It's okay. I think we'll just do the best with the light that we have.
Oh my goodness.
Here I have an. Heron.
Fantastic.
Yeah, well, that you really get the sense of how kind of hunched into its feathers it is.
Oh.
It was hunting. It was hunting fish. It was hiding in a bush, and suddenly I see the neck do this.
Oh, fantastic.
I look a little better. I look with my binocular at the heron, and it was one that I don't know the name in English, but here in Argentina we call oco colorado.
That's really fun. They and you really got the I like the way you kind of mapped out those clumps of feathers on the head of the bird. You also that egret sketch that you have, is that one accessible?
Yes, it is. I'm going to find it.
Look at these observations of the negative spaces and the
wait a minute. Try to do something a bit here because
it's coming in almost in focus, almost.
Oh, it's almost.
It's unfortunately
Really see the
was...
shape though. It's captured the shape beautifully.
Oh, let's see. Here comes. Hard to get the focus on it. We can see a little bit of the features and how you really carefully are observing the angles of the neck and how the beak attaches into the head.
Mm-hmm. What do your notes say?
well, they say first the color, because I didn't have time to draw to color it, but it has the beak and the eye yellow. It comes, it goes flying through the lake. Suddenly, if you're in kayak, you can see it flying, coming close from you. And I didn't have time to write this, but it eats a lot of fish, lots and lots of fish.
This was, so you go down to the lake. There's a really large lake by Bariloche.
Yeah.
So you go down there to observe. Beautiful.
It's called Lake Nahuel Huapi. It's a very big lake.
Huge. And lots of birds, water birds.
Yes, lots. I made this one a few days ago. These are new though, because I did them yesterday. I'm sorry. The day before yesterday, wait.
Oh, look at that.
2 days ago.
Oh, now it's coming in. Yes. Yep.
It looks like a seed-eating bird. Just from what I can see. Do we know, what is the name of that bird?
I know the name in Spanish.
Go ahead and put it in Spanish.
It's Pijuí frente gris. Even though it has red here instead of gray, that's fine.
Something gray, yeah.
And down there. Can you see it?
Yes. Nice. Great proportions. Love the notes.
I have an idea, since it's the we're having a hard time getting the resolution on your photos. I mean on your drawings, but there's some really terrific stuff here. And would it be, you feel comfortable if I shared on the screen some of the images that you sent me in the email?
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay, so let's try this. So this will be kind of higher resolution. And here we go.
Oh, nice.
Right. Looking really carefully at the relationship between sort of eye and head, and the angles on the here in the body. These are just such solid structural sketches. It's very exciting to see. And here is another. We're going to be having a workshop coming up fairly soon on birds in flight. Really like the way you've observed these sort of changes, how the primary feathers, you see the wingtip pieces there, but you've accurately observed that we don't get those separate kind of fingering down through the rest of the primaries or into the secondaries. And here is that sketch which we saw earlier. Now you get to see it full form. Isn't that exciting? And you're really using doing a great job of using both words and pictures together to describe what you are observing.
Yeah, I was going to mention that too. I love the notes.
Mm-hmm.
So the yellow bill, what is the pico is bill and yojo is what?
Is ojo the eyes?
Oh, pico,
Oh,
pico y ojo. It's not one word. Got it. Y ojo. The bill and the eye.
and pico and feet.
Got it.
And
Nice.
amarillo is yellow.
Mhm.
These the negative shapes right here under the throat and right here around the back, really carefully observe. That it just shows such attention to shape and form. Very exciting to see that.
Thank you.
And then this is neat. The little owl that you found.
Yes. Mm. It's
Wow.
a beautiful app.
That's this three-quarter view angle on the head, such a challenging thing to do. And also you successfully got sort of the eye position. Some people might think that, wait, this eye, I see yellow in here, but on this eye, I don't. What Gail has successfully done here is drawn those eyes the way we actually see them. Because the iris is set back from the outside edge of the eye, this is actually, that iris is on a platform that is below the level of the edge of the eye, and that causes this effect where it looks like the owl, maybe this, it kind of sort of gives you this sort of lazy eye look. But that's because that pupil is set back from the space where you see it. And then the picoflores.
Yes. Picoflores is a hummingbird in Spanish.
Gal, this is really exciting to see. And I'm really delighted that you are able to join our discussion group and be here with Roseanne Hanson as well. Want to show you something that,
Yes, I'm very happy.
so the Nature Journal Club is going to be sending you a package in the mail. And that's going to include the first copy of the Spanish edition of Law's Guide to Nature Drawing and Journaling. So there is now a Spanish version of this. So it's all in Spanish. And I got in the mail 3 pre-press copies of it. And one of those is going to head down to you. So this is the first edition, first printing of the Spanish edition. This is the first book off the press, as far as I know, and that's going to go to you. So
Fantastic.
so here's some stuff about you're talking. I was talking about sort of drawing with rocks. So there's a lot of fun stuff in here that I think that you are going to enjoy. And de todo es en español para usted. Thanks for being with us.
You're welcome.
So I see we've also got some shares from Marcia, Ray Bonto, and Ivea. Marcia, you can now unmute.
Okay. This is, let's see here. A couple of house wrens celebrating the what do I say?
Oh, the solstice.
Solstice. Oh, that's fantastic.
Oh, that's really sweet. Oh, look at the postures.
I like how you do the postures and the captions and more information, and the red feathers are glowing. Oh, that's fantastic. So do you think that he was trying to use the light to increase the reflection on the red to impress the female?
Might be, yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Anyway, just a few others. Some
Nice. Oh, beautiful. Bullocks.
Oriole and
I also, I like the way you have shown the different host plants that these birds
Yes.
are on. So
Mhm.
it's not just sort of bird on a random branch, but you're showing, I found this one on this, I found this one on this. And so
Yeah.
that's putting those birds in some context.
Yeah, so that nuthatch, it's clear that that's a higher elevation or bird that likes those conifers a bit more.
And then I'll show you this one, and then I'll be done.
Oh,
Oh,
dancing cranes. Yay.
and
Yeah.
that one that is craning its neck to look towards us, that's an exciting angle. That's a really, really exciting angle.
So
Nice.
this is lots of fun, and I really like doing it. So it's been nice
Wonderful.
to say
Thank you for sharing.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much. Ray Bonto, you are live with Roseanne Hanson.
Hi, Raybonto.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Well, it so happened the first page in my book happened to be the very day last year when I began pigeoning and stuff.
Ah,
Nice. Oh, I like that.
Well, I only had a pen, and by the time I'd gotten all these down, the pigeons had flown away.
Yes, they do that, don't they?
Someone was feeding them and their child was chasing them.
Oh, no. But that was
Yeah.
really good, quick sketching. Fantastic.
yeah, yeah. You really understand the pigeon form. And this is a new toned paper sketchbook.
Yes.
Oh, that's
Oh,
gonna be
fun.
fun. That's gonna be big fun.
Now, there are these giant daffodils.
Oh, okay.
Yes, 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 yes.
Oh, I like your the scale of tones.
Yeah, and also that the way that you are letting the tone of the paper be some of the shadows in this really gives you a lot of depth. It's so tempting just to put that bright over the entire thing. That's really exciting.
I also saw some wrens.
Ooh,
Oh, wow.
ooh, ooh, yes.
And there were some big white ones, some little white daffodils, and there were also a lot more yellow ones, both big and small. And I happen to be addicted to set theory, so I decided to play with that a bit.
Tell us about the formula that you've created here.
Oh, well, I don't know. Well, I don't know. I need to read it all, but set daffodil is white daffodils and X, which is yellow, and yellow, both big and small. So that's a subset. And the white ones are just a member. It's not a
That's
subset.
awesome.
This is so cool. So you're using the daffodil patch as a way of just sort of reviewing in your head set theory and seeing how your notation would apply to looking at this patch of daffodils.
Wow, that's so awesome.
Mind blown. Mind blown. That is really cool.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was really neat. Wow. So set theory. This is taking adding kind of the numbers in our journals to a whole new level. And so I want to make an announcement to everybody while everybody's still here and we still got your attention, especially Guile, you need to hear this, right? Because on the 6th, or if it's overcast where you are on the 6th, then maybe the 7th or the 8th, there is a project that I'm going to invite all of us to get involved with. And I want to sort of announce that now, and then we'll go back to sort of some journal sharing. So this is just sort of a separate little kind of public service announcement in the middle of our program here. Here's what's going on. The moon's going to come up. Oh, yes. Oh, yes, it will. About a month ago, Jack, the other Jack, asked me, was like, have you been watching the moon? He's making these cool observations about it. So we've been making some moon observations over the month. And on the 6th, I'm going to invite everybody all over the world in the Nature Journal Club to observe the moon. And what we want to do is, if it's mostly overcast, but at one point you kind of glimpse it through the clouds, to make a quick sketch of it, write down the time. And but if it's possible to make a sequence of sketches of the moon over the course of the day, yes, that's what we want. And I'm going to just do a quick demo on some moon sketch wrangling. And I have prepared a 15-minute video that I will post in in less than an hour, about kind of the full kind of protocol for this. But if people all over the world, Northern Hemisphere and Southern Hemisphere, close to the equator and close to the poles. So Margarita, if you're watching this, we need some equatorial drawings. Anybody who's close to the equator, that would be really cool. People way up in the Northern Hemisphere, anybody in Alaska, if you get some clear skies. So what's the furthest northern and southern point with a clear sky? We don't know, but it might be you. So here's what you're going to do. Here's what you're going to do. I am going to bounce over to this cam. Look, oh, there's the moon. So here's the quick trick for drawing the moon. Start with a circle. And you can sort of build that up. We'll sort of go over it a few times to make it rounder. And then there's your circle. And now what I want to do is to think of the two, imagine it's a little crescent. If there's, say, a crescent in the sky like that, you imagine a line going through, touching the tips of that crescent, right? What angle is that line at? So the moon may be like this, right? Kind of crescenty over this way, or it might be straight like this, or it might be like this, right? So the angle of that line is your next thing that you really want to pay attention to. So what is the angle that the moon is sitting at, right? What is the angle of the crescent? And then here's the really cool thing. If I have that line actually drawing in, I'm going to do a little kind of thing over here on the side. If you have a central axis through your moon shape, then drawing the crescent becomes a lot easier, because the tips of the crescent will always touch the top and bottom here where this line crosses. So it could be like this. It could be like this. It could be like this. But it will come to this point and this point here. That is to say, it will not do this. See that? See how this goes past that line? This goes past that line. The moon will never do that. It's always going to be from one point up here to another point down here. And so what you do is you look at, once you've got that central line, you look at how far in here does this come, and you put in a little dot, right? How far is this illuminated? And then you can come up to that line, and that allows you to get your moon. So on this, what I would do is I would put some crosshairs across that, see how much of the crescent moon is illuminated, put in a little dot there, and then I'm going to draw in my crescent of the moon. One other feature, if you put your binoculars on the moon, you'll be able to see this next feature. And what it is, there will be a dark blue spot on the moon. If you're looking up against the blue sky, there will be a spot that will either be in here or somewhere in here, depending if you're in the northern or the southern hemisphere. And that is the it's the Sea of Crises. It's this spot on the moon. It's a little bit of a darker spot. And when you see the moon during the day, it just sort of appears as sort of this little blue spot on the pale crescent of the moon. So what I'm going to encourage you to do is, if you can spot where the Sea of Crises is, or the Mary Chrysium on the moon, then put that in. And then put the time. So let's say this was 9:30 a.m. And then if you can get another observation later in the day, what's it doing at noon? What is the angle doing at noon? What is it doing? What is the last one that you can see? Here in, so the moon will probably get up in the morning around 8:30 where you are on the 6th. So on the 6th, the moon will be rising sometime around 8:30 over in the eastern sky. And what I want to do is invite you to get as many moon observations as you can on the 6th. For some of us, we maybe have overcast skies. Right now, where I am in San Francisco Bay Area, it is overcast here. And I'm hoping by the 6th, things clear out. But this is, and then what we're going to do is we're going to have an international moon party if you miss it on the 6th, you can get it on the 7th, the 8th, and maybe on the 9th or the 10th, somewhere in here, we are going to have an online meetup from all around the world, and we want to compare people's different moon observations. So in the video that I'm putting out, I'm also showing people how to, if you want to take this a little bit further and get more observations, I'm also going to add a little bit of information, as we did with the solstice observations, of making a little diagram through time showing what the moon is doing as it moves across the sky. Sneeze. Excuse me. So in the video, it'll also give you information about how to make a kind of a chart to show how it moves across the sky and how to measure the distance up. If you were already doing the solstice thing, you already know how to do that. If you want to also track what the sun was doing and compare that with the moon as well, you can, and put that on the same chart. And that is your project for the 6th. So that's Sunday. And there will be something that surprises you that you discover. And then when we get together in an international moon party and everybody shares their stuff, you're going to see that your diagram of the moon is specific to your latitude, and how these change at different spots around the world. And why are we doing this? Because my friend Jack Ravi suggested some time ago that we need to pay a little bit more attention to the moon. Hey, Jack, this is for you. So I have been doing, I meant to unmute you rather than, so Jack, this is, we're going to be doing, so not just the two of us doing moon observations. We're going to try to get people all around the globe geeking out and checking out the moon. Does this sound good?
Yeah.
And I really want to get your observation. So it's the 6th, and just sort of make it an in-depth moon day. Geek out, go deep down this rabbit hole, and see what we can get. Sound good?
Yeah.
Have you made any other moon observations this month?
No, but I totally forgot.
It's okay. What you can do is you can start now and sort of have it go forward.
I actually did. I was in the car, so it's not the best, but I did when it was full. Last time it was full. Where is it?
Pesky full moon.
It's, what was it called? The snow moon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, I love seeing how many pages you've done. The fact that you're turning lots of pages means, Jack, that you're putting in a ton of pencil miles.
Yeah, I'm almost finished the sketchbook. So here it is.
Oh, wow. Oh, check this out. Oh, this is cool. This is cool. Why is it? Oh, really good questions there too.
Love that. Oh my gosh. Great questions. How is it orange? Why is it orange? Any guesses?
I think last time when we did, remember when we did the, it was last year, the solar eclipse or lunar eclipse? I forget, was it lunar or solar?
I think so.
Oh, we've done, in the group we've done both.
Yeah, I think it's orange. I don't know, but I think it's orange because like the way the sun hits the earth and then hits the moon, like for a period of time as it goes up, that makes it orange. I don't know.
Like maybe the color spectrum and what the longest wavelengths are.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe research that, and then you can report back to us what you think.
That'd be really fun because Jack, on that point, this moon here was close to the horizon also. And so you can see that when it was close to the horizon, that moon was also orange. And then when it got further in the sky, it turned white on me.
Yeah.
So
Like sometimes we're eating dinner and when it rises, it's like orange, like super orange, like crown orange. And later in the night when it's like really high in the sky, it's just regular white.
Well, that'll be fun to learn how, and then you can report back to us.
Oh, great questions, Jack. Yeah, Rebecca Walnock was also saying that these are just dynamite questions. Something I love that you do is that you're really deliberate about always doing those I wonders and coming up with those questions. That's a really important part of our process. Great work.
Thank you.
So on the 6th, we've got a project. Game on. And for this one, you like I tried to do it like a moon observation thing before, but it had everybody staying up all night. That didn't work. This one, it's the moon is out during the day. So let's bring in Ivea Moore. Hey, Ivea.
Hey there. Oh, before I forget, when's the sharing day again? The day that we share all of our observations?
So I haven't figured that out yet. It'll probably be maybe the 10th or something, but I will announce that on the Nature Journal Club Facebook page, and I'll also put it on the Nature Journal Club community calendar. So that's to be announced.
Excellent. So I'll try to be fast because I see some other folks want to go. I had a question for you, Roseanne. Okay, so I have this restoration diary that I've been keeping now for a year. Lots of pages, but my main question for you is, what am I missing? I have a bunch of data in here. And I realized recently that I've been really, really bad about doing skyscapitos, especially because here are my more recent pages. I haven't been so great about doing skyscapitos, and I don't exactly have materials with me to measure the temperature, although I want to get better at doing the Beaufort wind scale. But I feel as though, even though I've been keeping track of my work, there's still stuff I'm missing. So I guess my question—
try doing a cyanometer and recording, since you're on a restoration site and it's the same place every time. I think the color of the sky and the relative humidity would be a really interesting thing to have in there too. Rather than, I mean, it could be a skyscapito, or it could just be capturing your the color and essence of the sky and the clouds, for sure. Because restoration focuses on the ground, right? So it'd be neat to have some other data on the sky.
Okay, so skyscapito,
Yeah,
and
that would
cyanometer. Okay, so that would help me with the cool.
maybe
Thank
adding
you.
some sky
I
data.
appreciate that. That was my main question.
Those are fantastic. I just love how your notes are so thorough, and I'm always often lazy about my notes, so that just encourages me to be more thorough in my notes. Fantastic.
Thank you. And thank you for inspiring us so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Avea. That's really wonderful pages. And also just the fact that you have a journal that is a restoration journal that you tie into your restoration project work. That's so cool.
Yeah, I'd love to see a whole program on restoration.
I would love to.
Let's make that happen.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool. Let's join Rajivi. You can now unmute yourself, and you are.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear. You're
Okay.
live with Roseanne Hanson.
Oh, Roseanne, I'm so impressed with your metadata. I carry a little bit of metadata in my pages, but not as much. But since Jack talked about the moon, I thought I'd show this page.
Ooh, how fun.
It was full moon that day, but we couldn't see it in Oregon because it rains all the time. Am I showing this reversed?
No. On your screen, it looks reversed, but on ours, it's coming out normal.
Okay, so I had to do this because I was so disappointed and angry that we had clouds all day and all night. So I did this in the daytime. My metadata is not as extensive as yours.
Oh, it sure looks like it.
But I put in the weather, and sometimes when it's really windy, I put in the wind as well.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So
I just love your moon.
Oh, thank you. And then I did this I always walk in the evening after work. So it's usually dark and late at night, so I can barely see what I'm doing. But that day, the clouds was so full. And I did it facing the four corners of my walk.
What a great idea. Oh my gosh. We keep forgetting to turn around, don't we?
Yeah, I know. I did two things I say to myself when I go. Most of my journaling I get to do when I go walking, because I don't have time during the day. So I'm walking and sketching at the same time. And sometimes it's pen, sometimes pencils, sometimes a little bit of watercolor. So two things I say is look up and look back. So
That's, I love that.
I got that. The only thing I do in terms of sketching at data is the capture, and I got this one, is one of the nights we had a really clear view of Orion and Sirius, so I got that captured. But sometimes
I love your lively landscape sketches. Are really fast, and you capture it with just a pencil or pen, and they're perfect. They just really show the essence of.
And then, you know, sometimes I just get to do in the dark. What I see is forms of the mountain that are surrounding us. So, but I do try and get some metadata, not a whole lot. How could I improve on my metadata? You think trying the Grinnell scale would work?
I mean, that you sure look like you have loads of great metadata. I think, gosh, I can't think of any improvement. It's just whatever seems is jumping out at you that seems significant. You sure have like fog, and you've got, I love the, so is that your scale, the temperature, the low and
yes,
the
the temperature scale, and roughly what it felt like when what the temperature was when I did the sketch.
That's so smart.
See how everybody has a different way of doing their metadata, and it just, whatever works for you, there's no right or wrong or one way to do it.
Right.
And
so, and that was, these are the birds I see in the backyard when I go for my cup of tea or something.
nice.
And then what I see while I'm walking, usually I can hear. So what I do is I put an eye symbol for the birds that I see. And then like a speaker symbol when I can hear them. There's not one on this page, but instead of saying I hear, like, I see, I just do the eye symbol like that.
That's
and
wonderful.
then list everything. This was the Great Backyard Bird Count,
Oh,
February
yeah.
18th to the 21st. So I actually counted them in one sitting rather than go back and count them again, because I don't know if they're the same birds.
Right.
So I kind of did this. Yeah, and then I try to put the moon phases. Sometimes I get them, sometimes I don't. Like I said, if it's rainy, you can't see them. So I just get it from my phone, like you do the sun and moon.
That
thing.
really helps.
Yeah.
Because we can't always observe them directly. And what I love about what you're showing is that you're showing us that you don't need to go on crazy exotic trips or even, you know, into a national park to have amazing observations. That you're busy, so do it at night. I love that.
And this was the Great Backyard Bird Count. So I did the birds at the bird feeder, just the ones that I could capture.
Really
nice. Those are so alive.
The chickadees are fun. They're always switching poses halfway through. Nice. So I start one and then I go on to the next one and then the next. And then this was more of the Great Backyard Bird Count.
I just love those.
That's the scrub jay, I think, in California. And then the rest of the week I didn't get much to do. So I, cursed Putin for what he was doing. So it's kind of a journal, nature journal. I also put in stuff that's happening around me during the day. And just one more. This is again the sheep in the meadows when I go walking. I just quickly sketch them. Then I added the watercolor later just to
really nice. And I actually like the sideways writing. I forget to do that.
When I run out of space, I have to do that.
You maximize your
space. How you hold your book when you're walking. It's hard to hold the thinner side of the book and write and sketch. So you have to hold it at different angles.
Oh, that's true. And that's one of the reasons I developed this. Is
I like that idea.
No matter what.
So, and then sometimes it's just, a quick sketch and keep walking and note down the temperature. So, but what I would really, really like to do is get some more help from you or listen to this recorded video to see if I can get more metadata in
Gosh,
full. So this was the birds.
I would
and
love, just email me some pages, but I definitely think you're nailing it on the metadata, but here, I'll put my email in, but send me some pages we can email back and forth.
Okay, so I mean, I get just a little bit of the metadata, but I'd love to have a little bit more, including location like you do.
Yeah,
Probably do some of
location
that.
is important, I think, so that would be a good thing to
Yeah,
add. And you can get that on your phone if you have an iPhone.
Right.
Just go to your compass.
yeah,
It-
I know, I just forget to do that.
I know,
Probably
it's
should write
easy to
myself a
do.
prompt. So.
Yeah, exactly.
And thank you for letting me
Thank
share,
you.
Jack.
That's
and
fantastic.
Those
Roseanne.
were so exciting.
Thank you.
I mean, just absolutely delightful. I mean, those like the birds bathing.
I
Like
know,
you're
I
like
love that one
you're
with the
not
bird.
waiting for the bird to be in like some static pose.
Right,
Like
Jack, this was just a junco that came to a puddle in the backyard because of so much rain. I didn't even have to put out a bird bath. The bird, is far out. It was just right outside my window, and I couldn't help it. It was just, he was just in and out, and then he'd look up to see, any predator, and then back he'd go back into the water again. And it was so fun to watch. They'd wiggle their tail this way and that way, and then they'd wiggle their feather one side, and then I mean, I couldn't capture every bit, but I wish I could.
Oh my gosh,
I
you
know, Jack,
captured a
you'd have
ton.
gotten all of it.
I don't know. I think vultures would get all of it, and Rebonto would get all of it. I think they would.
Yeah.
That's really cool. That's so exciting.
Thank you.
And yeah, it just like how much is going around when we
Yes.
pay attention.
Just in your backyard, I know.
Yeah.
You don't have to even sometimes if it's raining, you don't even have to leave the house. You can just stand at your window and watch all the stuff that's going on. Two of them were fighting with each other for the puddle, and I'm thinking, like, there are 3 puddles, guys. Go pick another one.
Yeah.
But
So what did Dorothy say in The Wizard of Oz? That if I ever go looking for my heart's content, I don't have to look any further than my own back door.
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
It's
I know.
and it's the big idea there is that it's not where you look, it's how you look.
You look, and how much time you want to spend to look instead of just grazing by, just how deeply you look, like Mary Oliver says.
That's right. That's right.
Thank you for letting me share, Jack and
Thank
Roseanne.
you for sharing.
Thank
That
you.
was
That's so
amazing.
exciting. Now we're going to join Anchita has got some journal pages for us as well. Thank you so much for being here with us. And we're now unmuted, and we're going to add you into the spotlight. Hi there.
Hello. So we have 4 nature journalers in our house. We have
Yay.
my 10-year-old, well, almost 10-year-old, who is too shy to be on camera, but she has agreed to let me show her pages. And then I have my 12-year-old son, and the 14-year-old is at school, and then it's me. So
Fantastic.
my 12-year-old share while I go get the 9-year-old. Thank you so much for letting us do this.
Oh, thank you. Thank
This
you.
is fun.
My name is Sion.
Sion,
Yeah.
pleasure to meet you.
I made a page about honeybees.
Ooh.
I just
Oh, that's
simple things.
love that. Love all the notes. Oh my gosh.
Oh, look at how Sion has put in that front view showing how the legs come down and then
Oh.
up and down. I mean,
I was
that's
just
such a
looking at-
clear little diagram.
Diagrams are so useful, and that's fantastic. Also, great observation on the way the color fades. I've often noticed that on the bees as well, going from the yellow to the really pale tip. I wonder why it does that. That's really interesting. Very cool.
This right after most of the yard had been cleared up, so it was much easier to find bees just.
Good observations.
Really, really strong work. Really good observations.
So
There.
you
Thank you.
could keep comparing how many bees you find in the yard as maybe the vegetation grows back. Are there going to be more bees or fewer bees?
Yeah.
Thank you. And I have some pages from my younger one. She's in the room, but she's not comfortable being on camera.
That's fine. That's no problem at all.
Is the one she did.
Oh.
Ooh. Grass stop. What a great thing to journal. Isn't that a great idea?
Yeah,
Look at that zoom in.
Oh, love the zoom in. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
And can I say that I love that in the title that on the R, there are little grass florets coming out, growing out of your word grass.
Yeah, that's her.
Nice. I never remember to do fun things like that. That is amazing.
And she had the sour grass that's everywhere this time of the year.
Yes. Oh, and it has aphids on it.
Oh, where are you located?
We are in the Bay Area too. We are in Fremont, so not
okay
where Jack is.
Yeah, I'm up in San Mateo.
Yeah, it was just so cool to see. Wow, you're a real life person who lives close by.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this is good. And and you observe those little lines, the little green lines on the inside of the throat of the sour grass. Those are subtle. That's cool. And the idea of just sort of doing it from the top and the side, you know, that's really cool.
Well done.
Thank you. And then the last one I wanted to share was the fuchsia.
Ooh, pretty colors.
Oh,
nice shading and depth. Oh, I love the diagramming. You know what I really love is when there's the diagramming as well as some color. I think that makes for a really visually enhanced page. Great notes.
Yeah, and when you're doing that show and tell thing, where, for instance, if the little petal or sepal gets lighter towards the tip, I might show that in my drawing, but I can really reinforce that observation by also writing it in and adding that little arrow, just as you've done. You're also, when you're done with the page, you're thinking kind of big picture, what is this about? Putting in those titles, that kind of meta thinking about what is going on the page. Also just terrific idea.
Makes me want to dive into the pages, both of your pages, the bee and the flowers and the grass. They all just make me want to dive in and learn more.
Thank you. We've been having a lot of fun. And I also wanted to share, tomorrow we'll be making our first trip to go visit the Foster in Palo Alto.
Oh, wonderful.
You guys will so love that. Oh,
yes.
Just be prepared to be blown away, and it'll give you lots of great ideas for field sketching and
although some logistically challenging ones.
Yeah.
Right. So
his diaries.
If you've done a landscapito.
But remember, his COVID diaries are really worth seeing.
That's true. Yeah.
Because they're just one little piece. I also noticed your moon faces above you. That's
yes. So you folks, I want to definitely invite you into the moon investigation.
Absolutely. This is my 14-year-old's room, so you can see she's into maps. That's her handmade one.
Nice. Oh, I'm getting all excited. Yay.
Ooh.
We would.
Yes.
I know. Oh my gosh. Is that I couldn't quite see the title.
So she does calligraphy too. It says.
Oh my gosh.
Indigo
Island. Is this a fictional?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. Although she doesn't quite share everything with us.
Now that you're crashing her room, though, you're showing the world.
Access as long as we clean up after ourselves. So
that's fair.
Okay, that's awesome. I started calligraphy when I was about 13.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
It's so inspiring to see your work, and I have your books on order and all of that, and
oh good,
all the various ways in which you know it's not just art, it's not just science, it's all of that. It's amazing.
And it
just exploring.
It's such an invitation to use just all these different parts of your brain, your analytical part, the sort of observational part, the artistic, bringing all that into play with whatever phenomenon you're encountering.
Whole brain
that comes in there. Yeah.
Whole brain.
Could we see some of your journals too?
Sorry.
Could we get to see some of your journals too?
Oh yeah. I actually don't have my journal here, but I can share. Can I share pictures? Like share my screen?
Yes, let me, the only way I know how to do that right now is to, I'm going to make you
It's the
a,
only way as the co-host.
Sion, can you go get me?
I'm going to make you a co-host.
Oh, okay. I feel very powerful.
Oh, you are. You are.
Get that.
The reins are now in your hands.
Right. Thank you. Let me just get the picture pulled up.
The work that your family is doing, this is so exciting. And what a great idea to do it together.
Yeah. Just happened to see a workshop of yours at the library that a friend referred us to, and all four of us sat and watched it together. And then we just started the next week. So we've just been on this.
I started before the next week.
So my son says he started before the rest of us did. So
That's great.
Well done.
there's some.
Oh, I love the colors. Oh, fun.
Yeah, this is.
Oh, that's joyful.
And then maybe I'll have to share the next one again. So I'll stop sharing this.
Yeah, just those splotches of color. That's so dynamic and playful. I usually don't do that, but did a sound map where I was kind of putting in some
Nice.
splotches of color for sort of sound zones. But I like how that was just sort of a part of that page. Oh,
Right, and this was just
Oh.
dissected the rose hips to see what was in.
Oh, okay. And do you use a dissecting tool, or do you just use a pocket knife?
No, this was just actually a kitchen knife. This was from the back.
Good.
But I was just looking at the pages that Jack was flipping earlier on from the book, and my son is a scout, so he has all kinds of
me too.
tools.
Yay, me too. I actually joined the Boy Scouts because Girl Scouts were boring.
Yeah.
See, that's the way you roll.
Right. So this was the inside of them, and then my son did bring my journal here.
Nice.
So this was it was still in.
Nicely done. Oh, I like that. Beautiful.
Oh, yes, yes. Oh, and you've got the colors of the plant are then reinforced with some of those just sort of stains around the edges.
Yeah.
I like that question too. Why did the leaves, so you used all your senses, why do they taste and smell different after it's gone to seed? That is an excellent question. Why is that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So if you research the answer and find out, let us know.
And then this was a citrus again. For a few days.
Nice.
With those little white flowers just pop out because of that green stain behind them.
Right. And the stain was like a happy accident that I just then carried on doing. And then I was trying to do moss. So I did this, like the patio pavers with the moss in it. And then I was trying to do the zoom in, but I couldn't, my eyes, I just wear glasses.
You need a little pocket loop or a microscope.
Yeah. So I want to expand this into the next page where I do some of the deeper
pocket loop. Yay.
Yeah. So thank you so much for letting us share.
Oh, thank you so much for
sharing.
Yeah. So Roseanne talks about in her field arts book about little tools that can really kind of help you get into that super zoom geek out.
They're really inexpensive. You can just get a couple $1 ones. You don't have to be expensive.
Thank you. Yeah, we're really excited about the books too.
Yeah, it is so much fun. Thank you, Anchita. That was delightful to get to see all those journal pages from your family. And I also want to just point out to other folks that like doing this as a family just opens up all sorts of possibilities.
Yes, fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. That's just makes me so happy.
Isn't that great? We have one more guest this afternoon. We're going to be joining, let's see, Landon up here. We're going to add you into the spotlight. Hello, family. And you can now unmute. You're live. After all
Hello.
that waiting.
Oh, thank you for waiting.
Yeah, my name is Jen, so I don't know how to change the name, technology. But I'm really excited, Roseanne, for the tracking section in your book.
Oh, good.
That I'm most excited for. So it's been a couple months. I've been trying to learn more about tracking just by using our backyard, and we're in a
Good.
suburban area, but with larger backyards, and we have a little creek running through. So we've been going out to the sandy creek zone and just checking who's been there. And it's hard, but it's fun. It's like that plexiglass idea is so mind-blowing for me to be able
That's
to
one. There's also a
like,
section.
on top.
Yep, there's
Yeah.
a section on how to make plaster casts too, and that'll be.
Which is,
super-
I've been trying. Yeah, we've been trying with mixed success. The consistency, just we keep trying.
I
Keep
have
trying.
some tips in the book for that. So
Yeah, so I'm excited. So just as a page example, so we just a map of our little beach zone, and then just trying to sketch the tracks of who's been there.
yeah,
So we're excited about the beaver situation. That's where, but little raccoons visit. And then, but each day changes. I mean, no one's super exotic, but deer will come and just to see what the beavers have been doing. And we think they drag their sticks across the beach, which is hilarious to us.
fantastic. Look at that. Great. Is that a map of your area?
Yeah, this is just a map of the beach. So I remember
Perfect.
Jack's class
Oh.
on tracking, like the zooming out and then the zooming in.
Yes,
And
love
trying to
that.
the best of my ability, but it's tricky.
It is. That's fantastic. One thing you could do in the evening, the end of the day, you could go to your beach and get an old board or something and smooth it out so it's a blank slate. And
Oh
then
my God.
as everybody comes in overnight, there won't be as much noise on the
That is so
ground.
good. You're right, because right now when I'm waiting for the rain, because then it's like
Just go get an old board or a cutting board or something and just scrape it over the ground like that. And then that creates like a
Blank
chalkboard that
slate.
then they'll walk on. So,
Totally awesome. Thank you. That's
yeah.
incredible.
And then share with us. We'd love to see that.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
So that was so beautiful to see those pages. And the beaver is such a cool animal. What a great opportunity to get this insight on that cool critter that leaves behind these incredible clues.
I know. I'm so jealous.
Got beaver
Birds
envy.
are so cool. You're gonna have so much fun with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Oh, wow.
This has been amazing, hasn't it?
Isn't that fun? I mean, there's so much creativity and joy and love that you're seeing in these pages. This process
Isn't it
just
awesome?
it opens up the world, and you are you're an enabler
I hope so.
in this process.
I hope everybody gets just inspired to become lifelong naturalists, whether you're 8 or 80. Just go for it. Absolutely. I am, in fact, anyone in Arizona who's on this call or Tucson, I'm about to go on to my next meeting in just 10 minutes. We're setting up a bio blitz.
You thought this would be a 1-hour program.
We're setting up a bio blitz for Tucson, and we'll be hosting that at the Desert Laboratory on Tumamoc Hill. I mean, it's citywide, but look for information on that. So we're going to need volunteers to go out and record everything: birds, plants blooming, you name it, all nature observations. So that's my next plan. I'll be just in a few minutes planning that meeting.
Fantastic. Well, we're going to let you jump to that meeting. For everybody that was here, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh my goodness.
Deep respect to Evea Moore for helping us behind the scenes. Roseanne, you are brilliant and an inspiration to all of us. Thank you so much for what
Thank
you
you
bring
for
to the
having
table.
me.
Again,
Thank
it is so just the right kind of geeking out, and you're just so generous with enabling us to kind of play in this pond.
Yes. Let's all be geeks.
Let's do that. Let's do that. So yeah,
Get dirty. Let's go
again,
get dirty.
the book is Master of Field Arts. It is your guide to this book will give you the it's the headlamp and the climbing gear to get your spelunking on all sorts of rabbit holes, and the world is waiting for you. Be kind, be safe. Let's take care of each other. Let's take care of this beautiful planet. Take some time to get out there and celebrate it on the pages of your journal. And thank you all so much for being here. Bye, everybody.